How in the world is Pokemon Go so disconnected from the community, the player base, and everything of the like? We're gonna check that out in the video. So you know what time it is? Welcome to the Trainer Club. Here we go! There's a lot of talk out there that Pokemon Go is not making some of the best decisions, including Niantic, as far as getting the remote raid pass limitation. The common narrative seems to be that Pokemon Go, Niantic Labs, is very out of touch with their community. And why might that happen, and what does that mean? So out of touch with the community means that it seems as if the player base that is very passionate about the game is not the #1 community that is taken into account. So typically, when we look at something, I'm gonna give you guys a principle that's called the 80-20 rule. What happens is obviously you have 100% of people that are playing the game. 80% of those people will be playing the game normally and casually, and 20% of the game will be playing the game most hardcore, right? More than the other 80%. And 20% of the player base will make up 80% of the gameplay and the revenue from this game in Pokemon Go and in life. It happens like that. Like 20% of the highways will have 80% of the traffic because those highways are the most dense. 20% of the Pokemon Go players will make up 80% of all the revenue and gameplay in Pokemon Go because they are the more hardcore players of Pokemon Go. And so I think that the game and everybody that doesn't look at the hardcore players as some of the best ways to shape a game always does the game a disservice. Why is that? Because these players know the game the best, they play the game to optimize it, and they are here basically as the beta testers for your game to make sure that it is the best game possible. Like, look at myself, how many videos I made about optimizing Pokemon Go, making it the best game that it could possibly be, having improved features, and everybody that watches these videos are like, wow, if you just implemented some of these features, Pokemon Go would be amazing. Why is that? Because I am one of the hardcore players, not the most hardcore by any stretch of the imagination, but in the general realm of Pokemon Go, I would be considered more a hardcore player. I've played the game, I've tested it, I've been in it. You know, the same people that do the PvP, the GBL, they've tested it, they've been in it, they've seen what works and what doesn't work. And by not listening to those people that are in there, in the trenches, making those decisions, feeling what the game is like, and really pushing the game to its boundaries, you're doing the game a disservice. Would you base a car manufacturer on somebody that drives a standard drive on the highway? I mean, yeah, like that's important to take into a factor, but somebody that's gonna push the car to its limits and see where it breaks is going to be what's gonna serve that car manufacturer the best, as opposed to somebody that's just gonna drive 30 down the highway all the time. And what are you actually gonna get from that? Like, yeah, the car's great when it does this, but what about those people that push the limits and see where there's breaks and faults in the system? Those are gonna be where the cracks, where you can cement those cracks and make that system that much better. With that said, I think this is where a lot of companies trip up on themselves. They don't honor the people that are the smaller percentage of players, and they look towards trying to optimize for the generality of the game, because a hardcore player cannot fit in with a general population of a game because it isn't optimized. It doesn't work properly. There's things that don't make it work well, right? But a general player can fit into the hardcore model easier. So you can't fit this square peg in this round hole, but you can fit this round peg in this square hole. It will work. Even though it's not the best fit, it will still work, right? So that is why I think it's very important that there is a philosophical switch in how this game is handled. Because if we think about it, why would there be a disconnect as far as not serving these people? Well, number one, it's got to come back down to the employees. Do the employees play Pokemon Go? Who are they using as their beta testers? Where are they getting their feedback from? Because I can guarantee you they're not getting their feedback from all the content creators. They're not coming to us and be like, hey, we're looking to optimize some things. How can we best do this? It's never really a conversation like that. So what is the conversation? Where do these inputs come from? I don't really know where they come from because we see the tail end of them, but we don't get the first part of them. And who are their testers? Are they hardcore players? Are they people that optimize the gameplay? Are they people that have caught 1 million Pokemon? People that have done 10,000 raids? People that hatch 10,000 eggs? And after you do that type of big time testing, you look at that person, you're like, hey, well, you've hatched 10,000 eggs. What do you think would make this egg hatching better? Or do you go to the person that hatched 500 eggs? You're like, hey, how do you make this better? Well, I don't really know. You know, I just hatch eggs whenever I walk on occasion when I'm walking my dog. It's like, how can you even take advice from that person? Not to say that their advice isn't valid, because it still does have metric to it, but it doesn't give you the metric of what this hardcore player would bring into the game and be like, oh, well, you know, if I hatch 12 eggs a day, what would really make it better is speeding up the animation. Oh, well, that makes sense. Well, this person's like, well, I don't know, I just hatched 1 egg, so I don't really pay attention to the phone. It doesn't really matter to me. You know, you get that. And so then this person could actually watch the updated feature that we have in the game right now, the egg hatch animation as they normally would, or they could click the screen and make it optimized, right? Same thing for me when it's like, well, if I'm out on comm day, you know, if I were to come out here as a casual player and I would just throw at, you know, 20, 30 Pokemon, I get a shiny, and then I'm done for the day with my evolution, okay, that's cool. But if I'm gonna go out there and try to catch 1,000 Pokemon in 3 hours, what would make that a little bit better for me? Well, if you had a quick berry button where you could pull the berry tray over, you could grab this pineapple berry, and I could put it in a spot up here. What would that mean is that as soon as I encounter that Pokemon, I can click that button. What that button's gonna do is gonna throw the berry onto the Pokemon, so I can skip over the pull out the tray, the grab the berry on the screen, and then throw it. That's way too many steps if I'm trying to catch as many Pokemon as possible. So I take that berry, I put it up here, and then I tap that button. It automatically throws the berry that I chose at the Pokemon, so it's only one tap, then I can do my throw. Look at the optimization of that. That's from catching Pokemon over and over and over again in a very hardcore manner and be like, dude, I'm catching so many, like, you know how much more time it takes me to throw a pineapple at this Pokemon? I would rather not get the candy and catch 3 times as more Pokemon on comm day than it would be like that. That's one of the examples that using a hardcore player's input would really optimize the gameplay. So there's a massive breakdown between honoring, respecting, and valuing the feedback of these hardcore players and looking at the data from casual players. It doesn't serve the game at all to do that. Yes, you have to take that into account, but like I said, there's always room to fit casual players into hardcore modes. We're not competing with these people like, oh, well, if you don't catch 1,000 Pokemon, you don't unlock 10 shinies. Like, that's not a thing. Every gameplay person still has the same odds. We still have the same amount of capability to be able to get whatever it is, but you're now honoring a hardcore player base that's gonna spend the most money, spend the most time, and the most effort in your game, and you're gonna get the feedback, and you're gonna make that player base happy, and then you're gonna even optimize it for the non-hardcore players, because now there's features in the game that they never even knew that they needed, because it's already done for them. So I don't understand why there isn't a test group, or at least content creators that are pretty hardcore, or whatever it is, even if it's not content, I don't care who it is, but you take these 50 hardcore players, and then you ask them for feedback on the game, like, oh, how can we make our game better? Oh, okay. I don't know how that doesn't happen. The game has been out for 7 years. So some of the big feedback that is mind-blowing for me is that there's still not that many spawns in Pokemon Go. I don't understand when I'm on Spotlight Hour, like, yeah, I'll have little clusters, but I can go down a stretch of PCH to get to another stretch in South Orange County, California, and I won't see a Pokemon for 2 minutes. And it's like, dude, are we really trying to do this right now? Like, this is how the game is operating right now? I'll pull up raid battles. I'll be like, oh, I think I'm gonna go do a raid. And I'll look at my screen and there'll be like 2 raids. And I'm like, okay. So then I could go to Campfire, but now you want me to get out and play, but really what you're saying is you want me to get out and drive to a raid battle that's close to me because you optimize this Campfire app that's basically Google Maps for Pokemon Go. So how do I get there? I have to drive my car, which is inhibiting people that don't have licenses, that are younger player base, that don't live in a good area, that may not have options for this, that may be disabled. They can't just drive down the street, or they don't have the luxury of that to be able to play Pokemon Go. Like, this is a game that was derived to play in cities, essentially. It's not a game that's derived for everybody. So basing this Pokemon Go's experience not on hardcore players, missing out on feedback, maybe taking internal teams' opinions on Pokemon Go, which probably aren't hardcore players from what I understand, valuing the mass amount of casual players and not valuing the hardcore players, not asking content creators for feedback, not asking content creators how can we optimize this game, not looking and seeking for better things, leaves me to believe that this game is not actually made for players. It's not made to do anything more than not have this game optimized to play, because there's features that come out like a sticker book where it's like, okay, this is cool, but like, what about all these other features that you could have added into the game? And consistently, it leaves me absolutely mind-boggled that these things are not being updated, they're not taken into account, there's no optimization, there's no inquiries, there's no reach out, there's no community involvement, there's no beta testing with hardcore players, there's no involvement at a different level. So what is actually happening in Pokemon Go? I don't know. What do you guys think? Drop in the comments and let me know, because this is still mind-blowing to me that I'm here 7 years later and we don't have this type of refinement in a game that has grossed billions of dollars. I don't know. Let me know. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you guys as always. Likers, comments, subscribers, Patreon members. Everybody takes their support. Subscription, participation, 2x. I'll see you guys out in the next video. Peace. I want to take this time to thank everybody who supports me in every facet. It means the world to me, and an extra special thank you to all my Patreons. I greatly appreciate the extra support to continue to allow me to pursue Pokemon Go full time, allowing me to create my daily video uploads in the most timely fashion for everyone's benefit. Plus, I get the amazing experience of sharing my creative processes behind the scenes and raiding all around the globe with select upper tiers. Thank you everybody for being a part of the Trainer Club. You all mean the absolute world to me, and I will see you guys out on the next video.